Who comes to mind when you think of the greatest NFL quarterback of all time? Would you lean more towards the side of total championships like Tom Brady or Joe Montana? Towards statistical record holders like Drew Brees or Brett Favre? Or maybe players who just stood out like Joe Namath, Dan Marino, or Warren Moon? While it is true that some players are raised into greatness due to their family tree or physical skills, our focus athlete of the week did possess these gifts, but he also brought something to the table that had never been matched up until that point. A brilliant work ethic to study the game. Today, we examine the life and career of NFL quarterback Peyton Manning. Welcome to Walking with Legends, the podcast dedicated to telling the stories behind the most iconic athletes and teams in sports history and what made them become a legend. Peyton Manning was born in 1976 as the second-born son of NFL great Archie Manning, who had himself enjoyed a successful career with the New Orleans Saints. Although his father had a history in the NFL, Peyton would later recount that he never felt pressured into playing sports growing up. Rather, Archie would offer support and encouragement whenever they wanted it. However, Peyton admitted that his passion for football was a tribute to the fundamental lessons that his father bestowed upon him. His older brother Cooper and his younger brother Eli were both talented football players in their own right. Cooper was a standout wide receiver in high school, benefiting from the talent of Peyton at quarterback, and eventually signed on to go to the University of Mississippi, Archie's alma mater. However, soon after this, he required spinal surgery and had to hang up his cleats for good. Eli would also grow to become a star quarterback, playing for the University of Mississippi and eventually joining the NFL. In high school, Peyton would excel, throwing for over 7,000 yards in his career, which garnered a lot of attention from college recruiters. He had the option to play for a plethora of elite-ranked schools, and it was thought that he would choose the University of Mississippi as his brother and father had. However, he shocked the sports world by instead choosing to go to the University of Tennessee. One of the reasons that Peyton desired to stray from Ole Miss was because at Tennessee, he would have the opportunity to essentially sit out his first year, soak up the playbook, and learn from his coaches and teammates. Ironically, during his freshman year, both the starting and backup quarterbacks would experience injuries, thus thrusting Peyton into the starting role prematurely. He continued to improve year after year, greatly developing his love for the game, his desire to be the ultimate student of the game, and developing leadership skills that would help him be successful at the next level. By the time Peyton completed his junior year of college, he had enough academic credits to graduate early, and as a result, the majority of the media expected him to declare for the NFL and easily become a top draft pick. However, he again shocked the sports world by declaring his intent to finish out his senior year instead for the University of Tennessee. This senior year would prove to be his best year of college, as he would throw for almost 4,000 yards and 36 touchdowns. Peyton used this last year of college football to focus on his game, develop friendships with his peers, and further boost his draft stock. Sure enough, during the 1998 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts selected Peyton Manning with the first pick overall, feeling confident that they got their quarterback for the long term. The Indianapolis Colts organization was in a state of turmoil before Peyton Manning came to town. In the year leading up to the draft, Robert Irsay, the owner of the team, passed away, leaving his son Jim as the owner. That year, the Colts ended the season with a disappointing 3-13 record and Jim Irsay decided that the organization needed an overhaul. He ended up firing coaches, trading away a lot of players, and putting a lot of faith in using the NFL draft as a way to improve the roster and foster a change in the culture of the team. When observing his options on who to choose with the number 1 pick, Jim Irsay was deciding between Manning and Ryan Leaf, another impressive quarterback talent out of the Washington State University. Irsay decided to stick with Manning, and Leaf would be drafted 2nd overall to the San Diego Chargers, eventually becoming one of the greatest busts in NFL history after lasting only 4 years in the league. Manning, on the other hand, would be at the start of what would be a very illustrious NFL career. In his debut season, the Indianapolis Colts would not show any improvement as far as their record was concerned, again going 3-13. However, Manning would prove that he was ready for the NFL by setting rookie records for passing yards with over 3,700 and touchdowns with 26, making the all-rookie team. However, he was also showing signs of being a rookie in need of improvement, as he ended up throwing 28 interceptions as well, 2 more than he threw for touchdowns. The following year, Manning led the Colts to their first division championship in over a decade, eventually going on an 11-game winning streak to reach the playoffs. Unfortunately, the Colts were ousted in their first game, losing to the Tennessee Titans. The same fortune would beset the team the next year as they fell to the Miami Dolphins in the first round. One of the biggest criticisms that Peyton Manning experienced throughout his career, both collegiately and professionally, was the notion that he was able to put up gaudy numbers year after year, but ultimately fell flat when the postseason would begin. These first 2 playoff appearances furthered this narrative to the media that the Colts would not be able to get over the hump of a playoff victory, regardless of how impressive Manning was at quarterback. While he would eventually silence these critics, it further reinforced the desire to become a tireless student of the game and be able to continually learn and develop his skills, both personally and as a leader to others. In 2002, the Indianapolis Colts fired their coach and replaced him with Tony Dungy, a coach who owner Jim Irsay desperately wanted for his team. Although the offense was firing on all cylinders with Manning and receivers Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne, the defense was holding the team back from reaching the next level, and Dungy was brought in to help this issue. In his first season leading the team, the Colts achieved a 10-6 record, but were beaten embarrassingly by the New York Jets in the first round of the playoffs 41-0, causing frustration both inside and outside of the team. The kicker for the Colts, Mike Vanderjagt, publicly commented about the team, saying that the leadership was at fault and that the team was failing to improve year after year, getting the same results of failure in the postseason. In a rare moment of emotion, Manning would fire back, saying that he was, quote, an idiot kicker who got liquored up and ran his mouth, end quote. To be fair, Manning understood that the team was falling short of their lofty expectations, so the following season, Manning would go on to win his first NFL MVP, helping the Colts to a 12-4 record and another trip to the playoffs. This time, Manning would lead the Colts past the first round of the playoffs, defeating the Denver Broncos and Kansas City Chiefs for a spot in the AFC Championship game against the New England Patriots. Previously in the season, the Patriots had handed the Colts a heartbreaking loss that dropped them out of contention for home field advantage in the playoffs, so the game was to be held in Foxborough, Massachusetts, the home of the Patriots. Fighting through the cold and the snow, Manning would go on to have a very disappointing outing, throwing for 4 interceptions and allowing the Patriots to be victorious for the second time over the team that year. Though they lost the game, the defense did show promise, holding the Patriots to only 1 touchdown and 5 field goals, but ultimately the offense couldn't deliver and another season ended in disappointment for the Colts. The following year, Manning would again deliver gaudy numbers in setting the passing touchdown record and winning his second NFL MVP award, but again, the team would be defeated by their rivals, the New England Patriots, in the playoffs. This loss would prove particularly frustrating for Manning, as the team was only able to put up 3 points on the Patriots team after torching the Denver Broncos in the previous game, putting up 49 points. The elements played a large part in literally cooling off Manning's production, and left the Colts wondering if they'd ever be able to reach their goal of winning a Super Bowl. The 2005 season would prove to be nearly historic, as the team won their first 13 games and threatened to match the Miami Dolphins' 1972 team as the only teams to post an undefeated record in the regular season. While they would go on to lose their next game, they went into the playoffs with an enormous amount of confidence, yet met the same fate as previous years, losing to the eventual Super Bowl champion for the third year in a row, this year to the Pittsburgh Steelers. By this point in his career, Manning had broken numerous records, so the legitimacy of his talent was unquestioned. However, as we mentioned earlier, the media continued to hound him for being unable to win the big games when they mattered. This would all change in 2006, when the Indianapolis Colts would finally have the opportunity to exercise their demons and take home their first Super Bowl victory since their move to Indianapolis, beating the Chicago Bears 29-17. Manning would take home the Super Bowl MVP honors and relish in the fact that he had finally gotten that elusive championship. In the following years, the accolades for Manning would continue to come in. He won MVP honors in 2008 and 2009, becoming the first player in NFL history to win 4 NFL MVP awards, and was able to reach the Super Bowl for the second time in 2009 against the New Orleans Saints. Although Manning himself played fairly well, their chances were ultimately sunk when he threw a late interception that was returned for a touchdown, bringing about a bitter loss for Manning and the Colts. Manning's career was completely changed when he was forced to have neck surgery following the 2010 season. There had been rumors that Manning was now beginning to show signs of aging, and that he may never be the same quarterback again following his surgery. As an insult to injury, the Indianapolis Colts released him from the team, deciding to use the opportunity to move on from the aging quarterback in favor of Andrew Luck, their newly acquired first-round draft pick. However, the free agency period would prove to be very short, as Manning would soon sign with the Denver Broncos, beginning a new chapter in his career. Manning would come right out of the gate in his first year with the Broncos, throwing for over 4,600 yards and 37 touchdowns, earning the Comeback Player of the Year award and silencing all of his critics. The following year, Manning would have a career year, setting NFL records for most passing yards and touchdowns in a season, and winning an unprecedented 5th NFL MVP award. The team made it to the Super Bowl, where again Manning would suffer a humiliating loss, losing 43-8 to the Seattle Seahawks. However, in his final season, Manning would go out in the best possible way, as the Denver Broncos defeated the heavily favored Carolina Panthers, giving Manning his second Super Bowl victory and solidifying his legacy. While he was mainly known for his work on the football field, Manning was very active off of the field as well. Due to his charismatic and goofy personality, Manning was given numerous opportunities for endorsements, joining with the likes of Reebok, Nike, Gatorade, Nationwide Insurance, Buick, and DirecTV. His most famous partnership came in 2012 when he became one of the most popular endorsers for Papa John's, the national pizza chain. Through his endorsements, he was able to bring in an estimated $12 to $15 million a year towards the end of his career. He also had the opportunity to use his humor on the television program Saturday Night Live, hosting an episode in 2007. In one of his most famous sketches, he's shown in a United Way commercial that looks like it will be a way for Manning to give back to the children in the community, but ends up being a hilarious mock commercial where Manning repeatedly loses his temper and throws footballs at the children and gives them a poor example or advice in humorous situations. When interviewed about his time on the show, Manning actually admitted that he was very close to never shooting this sketch at all. He stated that he felt like it would be, quote, going over the line, and that he wasn't comfortable doing the sketch. Even though the children were played by child actors, and the footballs he was using were Nerf footballs made of foam. However, reportedly, a parent of one of the child actors came up to him and told him, quote, "I want him to hit my kid in the face," after which Manning agreed to finally do the sketch. Here are some funny stories that were told by some of Peyton Manning's former teammates, in their own words. Clyde Christensen was a Colts wide receivers coach from 2002 to 2008 and an offensive coordinator for the team from 2009 to 11. He says, quote, "I'd be asleep on the plane ride home coming back from a road win, sometimes at 1 or 2 in the morning, and the stewardess would come tap me on the shoulder and say, 'Peyton wants to see you in the back of the plane.' I would tell her to tell him that I was sleeping. She'd come back a few minutes later saying, 'He said he doesn't care if you're sleeping.' So I'd walk back there and we'd go over the entire game, play after play after play. He loved every single thing there was to football. He noticed every detail. If I took 2 steaks in the dinner line, he wouldn't let that slip. I never went on a trip with him where everything wasn't set, where he was going to lift, throw, and watch film. We'd be on vacation and we'd be doing throwing sessions on the 9th fairway before we golfed. I remember hearing about the time he hosted Saturday Night Live from a guy who works for the show. Peyton shot their budget in 3 days. Kept everyone overtime all week long. They tried to tell him, 'This is New York. This is expensive.' But he would say, 'I don't care about your budget. I'm not going out here and embarrassing myself, so we're going to work on this until we get it right.'" Reggie Wayne was a Colts wide receiver from 2001 to 2014. He says, quote, "The one story I tell all the time, I feel like Peyton has his day planned out before the day even starts. He knows what time he's going to wake up, what time he's going to brush his teeth, what time he's going to go to the store. That's how prepared he is for games. He wanted to figure out what the defense was going to do before they did it. So the way he prepared kind of got the rest of us to kind of pick up our game as far as preparation. Everything was football to him. He was a workaholic, basically had no social life. That's one thing you can respect." The reporter asked if he ever got on his nerves, and he replied, "Every day, man. It was work. He wanted to be the best. It motivated me to be a better player, and he did that for all of us." Justin Snow was a Colts long snapper from 2000 to 2011. He says, quote, "It's my rookie season, and it's Thanksgiving, and they're giving us players free turkeys at Marsh. Peyton asked me to get his. I'm a rookie, and he's in his 3rd year, so I listen. The words you had to give them at the counter were, quote, 'extra gravy.' So I go there, give them the words, tell them I'm supposed to get Peyton Manning's turkey, and the guy behind the counter is like, 'Well, we're really not supposed to do that.' He tells me I have to do this touchdown dance in order to get the turkey. I'm thinking, nah, this isn't worth it. I'll just buy him one. But the guy behind the counter says, 'Let's go,' and hits the button, and music starts playing. Tells me only way you're getting this turkey is if you dance. So I break into my dance for whatever, 20 seconds. This guy is eating this up. So he gives me my turkey and I bring it to the facility the next day. I was walking by the equipment room and I start seeing Polaroids of my dance on the wall. Then we're in a team meeting and at the very end, Coach Jim Mora says, 'We have something to share with you guys,' and the video starts playing. Apparently there was a hidden camera behind the counter the whole time. They put all the rookies through this, but apparently since I was the best one, they showed mine last. 11 years they showed that at Thanksgiving. Peyton loved it. He always queued it up. He'd show it to all the players and wives at their houses after games. While he does have a goofy personality, Manning also has a huge heart for philanthropy, and in 1999, he started the Payback Foundation, an initiative that seeks to promote the future success of disadvantaged youths by giving them programs and activities that provide leadership and growth opportunities, particularly for children at risk. The foundation hosts thousands of underprivileged children at events throughout the year, including football games such as the Colts or Broncos, holiday dinners, and grant opportunities. The Manning family also hosts the Manning Passing Academy on a yearly basis, which allows high school players to hone their football skills. The MPA has been attended by many future NFL players including Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson, Andy Dalton, and Phillip Rivers. Today, Manning has been able to stay fairly out of the limelight, being selective with the opportunities that are presented to him. While he still participates in endorsements, Manning was approached by ESPN to be a commentator for NFL games, but he repeatedly declined, despite being a perfect personality fit for the job. One of the biggest reasons why he declined was due to his disdain for criticizing the likes of his younger brother Eli, or other players that he's fond of, which is a big part of the job. Manning has expressed interest in the possibility of one day owning a franchise through a development group, or being part of a front office staff, similar to the path of John Elway, who became the GM of the Denver Broncos shortly before he played for them. For such an incredible athlete that Peyton Manning was, it is similarly incredible at the impact that he has made off of the field. Unlike other popular sports figures, he has not done much to draw criticism, disdain, or a negative image, and through his humor, charm, and charisma, has made a difference on the media at large. The NFL dearly misses his presence on the field, but it's comforting to know that his passion for the game continues to burn. Though his records may eventually fall, as some of them already have, Peyton Manning was able to form a true legacy in the NFL, and will forever be immortalized as one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. Thank you for listening to the Walking with Legends podcast. We appreciate your support and hope that you'll tune in next week as we examine the life of NBA great Magic Johnson. If you enjoy the podcast and would like to help it grow, we encourage you to take some time to leave a review, subscribe, or rate the podcast in iTunes. It is because of listener support like yours that we are able to continue, and we appreciate anything that you can do to help. Until next time, have a legendary week.